All right, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Deontay Wilder and some new training footage that came out and the fact that he looks way better. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the meat of the video though, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already subscribed. We've got daily content that comes out on a lot of different issues related to boxing. And also, please make sure that you share the video and like the video. It'd be greatly appreciated on my end. Now, let's get into this. Deontay Wilder is a former heavyweight champion of the world, and he is preparing for a fight against Tyson Fury, and that is supposed to be held on October 9th in Las Vegas. Now, there was a lot of conversations and stuff going over the last week or so, ever since Tyson Fury made up some story about him having COVID. That's really what has been, taking the majority of the conversation up, or the public's eye, as far as it goes on with that fight. But just yesterday, Deontay Wilder released some video footage of him training with his new trainer, Malik Scott. And I got to tell you, man, wow, he looks way different. His head movement is moving. It looks terrific. Now, before I get into specifically what we saw, and I want to, kind of preface it by saying this. Deontay Wilder is very capable of improving. Okay. Now, for people that say that, like myself, that say, look, this guy is a Hall of Fame fighter. He deserves his credit. The guy beat 40. He's had 44 fights. He's won 42 of them. And I think like 40 of them I think he might have went the distance twice, something like that. And then the one loss that he has, but there's over 40 knockouts of professional fighters, including 2 knockouts of Luis Ortiz, who I believe is definitely a top 3 heavyweight, despite the fact that he's been avoided. Deontay Wilder, there is things that Deontay Wilder can do to improve. And I say that to the people that claim that Deontay Wilder is incapable of improving, like Eddie Hearn, who said, Deontay Wilder, he looked at Deontay Wilder's training footage and he says that Deontay Wilder, he looks the same. He's going to be the same. There's nothing that you can do to improve him. There's no improvements you can make. Like, dude, how far are you going to take your hatred of Deontay Wilder, or your clownish promoters of your promoting of your fighters? How far are you going to take it? To say that a man has no ability to learn? I mean, come on, man. The dude, if you get a new trainer and you get into training camp and you practice and you practice and you practice, you will learn new things, especially for somebody like Deontay Wilder, who, if what people said was right, was more one-dimensional, looking for a knockout every time, right? If he decides, you know what, let me try to work on this, let me work on that. You bring in new trainers that spend their time ingraining stuff and you work for as long as Deontay Wilder's been working, you will see improvement. That's just how life works. So the idea that Deontay Wilder's incapable of improvement, and I'm telling you, the fact that you even have to have debates with people or bring this up is so asinine, is to just be, like I said, asinine. It's asinine. Of course he can improve. However, how specifically did he improve? His head movement looks way better. His hand, and he's getting side to side, and specifically the drill that they were working on was Malik Scott throwing his jab out, Deontay Wilder slipping a jab, ducking up underneath it, moving his hands to keep his hands busy, kind of in the same way that Terrence Crawford will keep his hand busy, to kind of like feint with your hands like this. So basically he's feinting with his hands, he's dipping his head side to side, for the purpose of obviously making it harder for that jab to land, but at the same time dipping underneath it so you can get closer and land a body shot. And that's the kind of the loop on the training that they show. It's showing that he's working on that upper body movement, which is going to make Tyson Fury's jab harder to land. Like, if you look at the first fight and the second fight, definitely in the first fight, even if you just take out just for a second the fact that that Tyson Fury didn't have his hand in the glove and his glove was extended, still the flicking of the jab to Deontay Wilder allowed him to. Deontay Wilder didn't have enough head movement, and it looked like Tyson Fury's jabs were landing, or it was landing with his fist actually in the glove. But still, he's making contact with the side of his head, and that's the majority of the scoring that Deontay Wilder fell victim to in the first fight. The second fight, I'm seriously, that is just a blatant cheating. But Tyson Fury's jab is what he's going to have to avoid, right? But at the same time, not just avoiding the jab, but using his head movement to get inside and to land body shots, because that's pretty much what I think he needs to do. I think, and obviously they're planning to do in this fight, is to get on the inside of Tyson Fury. Now, I think that for Deontay Wilder is important, and I said this in the first fight. And I'm saying it, and I said it before the second fight. Deontay Wilder has to fight Tyson Fury like Deontay Wilder is a small man, because Deontay Wilder is so used to having the length advantage, like Luis Ortiz. If he fights Luis Ortiz like 6'3.5", 6'4". Deontay Wilder is 6'7", and with a very long reach. Deontay Wilder can stay away from a lot of the punches that, simply because of his height and the fact that Luis Ortiz is going to be very hesitant about coming in with that big bomb being able to get dropped at any time. So he fights on the outside as a tall man against Luis Ortiz. And most of the other fights, if not all of the other fights that he's been in, he's fought as a tall man from the outside. But when you're fighting somebody that is almost 2 inches taller than you and he's a lot bigger than you, then you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to throw your jab out there, and you're always going to have a little bit of a length, a reach issue with the length of, with the straight right hand. So by slipping inside of Tyson Fury and going to the body, you wear Tyson Fury out. You make him drop his hands, because them hooks to the body ain't gonna feel good for Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury is just not in the best shape in the world. He stays like that section, and plus just the size of it. So it'll be easier to hit him to the body than it is for him to find his head, because your stomach really doesn't move as long as the guy doesn't have the foot speed to stay completely out of range, which Tyson Fury does not have. It should be a better way to score against him. So, all in all, I really like what I'm seeing. I think that approach that you can see in that clip, and I'll probably put a link to the clip in the description box. If not, you can go to TMZ. It's out there on TMZ. If he's able to actually pull that off in the fight, that goes a long way towards Deontay Wilder winning, because if Tyson Fury winds up dropping his hands and defending his body, then over the top comes that bomb. But he's got to be able to get inside to do that. So anyway, I really like what I saw from Deontay Wilder in that training footage. I would hope that you guys would not listen to people that try to teach you that people can't learn things and can't make advances and can't change or add on to their weaponry, because they absolutely can. You can talk about, there's people like Marco Antonio Barrera, who did that later in his career after he lost to Junior Jones a couple times. He became a boxer. That wasn't what he was doing beforehand. So obviously he gets with the trainer, they change their approach, and he has a successful career, continues to have more battles with Eric Morales, and the rest is history. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think, and with that, I'm out. Peace.